Welcome back to USC Coliseum Chronicles Live. I am Terrence Holton, joined by Casey Kasliner. Days after USC's first game versus Missouri State, but first,
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks: 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
all right. Well, welcome back to Coliseum Chronicles Live. Me and Casey. USC destroys Missouri State, taking them down easily, and we are going to be overreacting on this podcast because that's really all you can do after you play a first-time FBS team like Missouri State. So a lot of this is us overreacting to the good things, the bad things, everything in between. That is what we're getting today. And Casey, I want to get your first. What is something that you're overreacting about? What is something incredible? Because I'm already seeing an overreaction in our chat from DML. Jayden Maiava, first-round draft pick for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's untrue, but it is an overreaction. Let's be honest.
It is. It's a week one game against, a borderline FCS team. But I do want to talk about Maiava as my first overreaction because, we look at some of these week one performances from other schools, other guys. Maiava clearly cleared all of them in the Big Ten. He was a Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. Fernando Mendoza, I didn't think played that well. Julian Sane really didn't play all that good. Just going down the list. Nico Iamaleava didn't play all that good.
Oh, no.
No. I mean, Bryce Underwood played good, but, it's a light opponent. Is Jayden Maiava a top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten? Is that my overreaction? Maybe that's my overreaction.
That is a good overreaction, and I like it because I don't even think it's ridiculous, especially because you see where he was ranked preseason amongst these other Big Ten quarterbacks. I saw lots of lists that had Mark Gronowski, the Iowa quarterback, ahead of him. I think that's absurd. And we saw that on Saturday. We saw that on Saturday. He threw for less than 100 yards. He ran for, I want to say, 60 and a touchdown. Iowa quarterback syndrome. Never choose an Iowa quarterback to do well. That's just what it is. Yeah. So I thought that was ridiculous. Maiava played fantastic. It's what won him Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. I think he 100% deserved it. He was by far the best player offensively that USC had, as well as arguably in the Big Ten. A lot of the top really guys didn't do that much for other teams despite playing lesser opponents.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at what he was able to do in that game early on. I mean, the first play from scrimmage, he has to roll out and evade some pressure. And I mean, it's not something you necessarily want to see all the time, but it's good just to see Jayden Maiava adjust to a little bit of pressure in the backfield and see him dump it down low, make a good decision, because we know maybe last year that wouldn't have happened. I think Jayden Maiava doesn't have to play like a Heisman if USC, is going to be a good team. I think that's a fair thing to say. Their defense is good. Their receivers are good. But if he can play like, a top 3 QB in the Big Ten, we're talking about USC contending for the Big Ten Conference. It's plain and simple. It's a lot that has to happen, but it certainly can, I think, at this point.
Yeah, 100%. And totally agreeing with Jeff here. He didn't look like a liability. That was one of the issues that we had with Maiava for the few games we saw him last year, as well as I'll just speak for both of us, some of our concerns about him coming into this year. We were worried that he'd be panicky. He'd make errant throws. Of course, it's Missouri State. We are overreacting. That's what we're doing. It's fine. He did look good, though. He looked very great. I think back to that play you mentioned. I want to say, is it the second or first play?
It was the first play from scrimmage.
First play from scrimmage. Rolls out, faced some pressure, under duress, hits Mekhi Lemon 5 yards. Looked great.
Yeah. And, I mean, he had to deal with not too much pressure in the game. I mean, throw he missed to Mekhi Lemon wide open.
Yeah.
Would have been a touchdown. Like, you got to hit that. But
Mhm.
that was like one of his only mistakes. Jacoby Lane had a drop. That was really the only bad throw I saw to Jayden Maiava, and he was able to use his legs too. Not to say he necessarily has to, because I think another thing we can overreact to rightfully is the running back room. I mean,
Yes.
all 4 tailbacks, 1 through 4, scoring touchdowns in this game. King Miller going off for a big run.
First carry. Incredible. Takes it 75 yards.
Wayman Jordan, his second carry was a touchdown, I believe. And then Eli Sanders with a super long run as well. Brian Jackson punching it in from close. I mean, this running back room, on top of having Jayden Maiava, who's mobile, and Hassan Longstreet on the bench, who's mobile, man, the run game for this team looks like it's going to be really special.
100%. And so you talked about Wayman Jordan. You were up in the press box for this game because you were calling them. I was in the student section during this game. I don't think you could hear like the oohs and ahs from Wayman Jordan's first carry where he made a few defenders miss. It was like, we've known about this guy, of course. Everyone within the USC community, I think everyone in our comment section has known about Wayman Jordan, but it was like, oh, okay. It's not just this is pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about Eli Sanders too. They're kind of different style running backs a little bit. They have similar frames, but Wayman Jordan is just so quick and agile. He can make guys miss, like you said. Eli Sanders, a little bit more physicality, a little bit more, grunt room for him. But I really feel like, this team overall, just the depth at every position, it feels like is there.
1 second. I'm just looking at the comments. I apologize if we're breaking in and out. I'm not really sure what to do about that because my Wi-Fi is fine. So apologies if we're cutting in and out for that. Just talk a little bit slower. But Casey, let's keep overreacting to this game. How about some negative things? Because there wasn't a lot, but I definitely from the start that we talked about that Jayden Maiava, that rollout where he faces some pressure and hits Mekhi Lemon on the run. Why is it that he had to face that pressure? Why was he facing pressure so quickly from the offensive line? That is kind of what concerned me. I thought they got to him a little quickly. And of course, it's overreacting. It was like one play. But how was Missouri State able to get past the line that quickly and force Maiava to roll out?
Yeah, well, I mean, pressure came from, I want to say, the right side of the line. And I mean, that would have to be Justin Tuanoa. I think his block there at the right tackle position. I need to rewatch it more in depth at some point. But I think they missed a block or two. Maybe it was Alani Noah's assignment there on the right side because pressure. He was rolling to his right, and that's where the pressure was coming from. So they made some adjustments. I think. I mean, they cycled in a lot of offensive linemen. What do you see out of that play?
Yeah, I saw. I'm just thinking back because I thought I need to go watch it again. I'm just thinking back to it because pressure came pretty heavily from the. Yeah, it was the right side because he rolled out past it. That is Tuano's. I was a little surprised we didn't see John Red Reed as much. He was in the game. Obviously, we saw. I believe it was Real Talk College Football mentioning 10 offensive linemen getting meaningful snaps. He was in the game. I was surprised that he wasn't in the game more. I know he's listed on the depth chart below Killian O'Connor, if I'm not mistaken. I was surprised about that.
Yeah, I mean, Killian O'Connor got the start, his first ever, which is big for him. I honestly, I was very confused when that call was made too, because I feel like Gianri Reed is a prospect that was really one of the big transfers coming over. He's a guy who, started for Syracuse every game as center. He blocked for, Kyle McCord, who was one of the best passers in the country last year. I was very confused. I don't know exactly why. But I don't know. I felt like you're right. He came in during garbage time and he did well. He did well. Like he was mostly blocking for Longstreet, which is going to be different than blocking for Maiava. But I feel like Reed, it feels weird to me that Reed's not starting at some capacity.
Yeah, and this is, of course, we're not trying to disrespect Killian O'Connor or anyone who started over him. I do think it's a little surprising because this is a guy who played a few years at Syracuse and then came to USC. So I'm a little surprised that he is not getting that start over a first-time starting Killian O'Connor, a guy who was just put on scholarship this spring. And it's weird to me. Maybe there's some other things behind it. Maybe it's just because they're playing Missouri State and they want to give him the start. But I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, he also, I mean, he was a walk-on at one point. He was zero-star recruit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Killian O'Connor was the center in the Las Vegas Bowl, and also the offensive line in general that we saw this week was a little similar to the line we saw in the Las Vegas Bowl, just because Page was injured in that game, so Toanua got into that game as well. But yeah, I think the problem with this offensive line is the age of the guys across the board is pretty young, and so we just don't really know what to see. I mean, Killian O'Connor is the oldest guy on that offensive line. He's a redshirt junior, but this is his first time starting. Elijah Page is a redshirt sophomore. He's still getting better. I mean, I think he's a very solid left tackle. Toanua is a redshirt freshman. Raymond's a redshirt sophomore. Like, Alani Noah is a sophomore. My point is, these aren't guys with a ton of experience. You don't have a Justin Dedich. You don't have a Jonah Monheim on the line who can, come in and be a leader necessarily. Maybe it's good. It'll motivate the guys, but I agree.
Yeah, and just going off with Jeff saying here, maybe they're taking their time with Reed to learn the playbook a little bit, but that still feels weird to me. It feels like it's been plenty of time. He's been on campus for a while now. So it is a little bit surprising that he wasn't starting. But anyways, Casey, let's talk a little bit about the defense, because the defense was incredibly impressive outside of that busted coverage, which we have talked about a little bit pre-show. Do you want to keep mentioning that? Because of what we can tell, it is a miscommunication between DJ Harvey and Kennedy Urlacher, not Killian. Yeah, you want to go into it?
Yeah. So it was a Tristan Gardner touchdown for Missouri State, their first and only touchdown of the game. It's an interesting play because USC's in man coverage. They're rushing 6 because they have the blitz with the linebacker. I believe it was Jaden Walker, the linebacker, who rushed the quarterback on that play. So, USC still has the man advantage there, with 5 in coverage and 4 receivers. But yeah, there's a little bit of a miscommunication that happens around the 25-yard line between 2 USC defensive backs, DJ Harvey and Kennedy Urlacher. And I think one of them thought that one was going to go for the guy going the out route, the receiver going the out route. And then one was, supposed to cover Tristan Gardner, and he was left all alone with only Christian Pierce, the safety back, who, wasn't in the most optimal position. So, it's blown coverage, but it's one of those things where it's like, at least it's not a guy getting burned. Yeah. It's more just a mental thing.
Yeah, it's not something I think you need to really worry about, especially that's their only touchdown of the game. It's not like someone was getting picked on the entire game. There's a clear weak spot in that defensive back room. It was just one singular miscommunication that led to a long touchdown. So I really don't think that's anything to worry about, especially since the Big Ten isn't particularly a throwing conference.
Also, like, Chasen Johnson's coming back from injury pretty soon, I think. So you add him into the mix. I mean, we the DBs in this game, I mean, we talked about it. Bishop Fitzgerald with the pick 6. We'll get into that in a moment. But I mean, I think the depth at that position is way better than we saw like last year, the year before, where, you have a guy like Kamari Ramsey, but you want to sort of make Kamari Ramsey not have to do a million different things. He's a guy that you want to have on the field for 12, 13 games. You don't want to make him have to burn himself every week. So I think we didn't really see a ton of Kamari Ramsey this week. He had some good hits, and maybe some good pass defenses, but he didn't have to be Superman for USC to win this game. And I think that's a big thing for this defensive front and, in the back end as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the defense played well overall. Of course, they had 13 tackles for loss. It was definitely like a good showing by the defensive line, which we'll get to in a second. Bishop Fitzgerald, that safety combination, which we were just talking about with Kamari Ramsey, we talked about this during the summer or May, sometime a while ago. It is probably the second or third best safety combination in the Big Ten. And I don't think that's crazy to say, right?
I don't think that's, debatable. I mean, you brought in 2 high-profile transfers that are veterans, and I mean, I know we're not talking about defensive backs necessarily, or cornerbacks rather. Cornerbacks. But I mean, like, DJ Harvey, like, yes, he does make a mistake there, but he's still a guy that is gonna, be very good for USC in the backfield, because he had 7 tackles for loss last year, and 2 sacks, and then also 4 interceptions. I think DJ Harvey is I don't know if I'm going to go as far as saying he's the most versatile defensive back on this team, but he's like second, I'd say, behind Ramsey. And so, you throw him in there. The versatility of these defensive players is incredible. I mean, Eric Gentry as well. He had a hard hit on the quarterback at one point, getting into the backfield. So I really think you're right. The depth and just the positionality, versatility is great.
Yeah, let's talk about the defensive line a little bit, because I was incredibly impressed by Cameron Fountain. That dude was everywhere in the backfield. He was in on tackles for a loss on the running back. He was getting to the quarterback. We know he was fantastic last year as a true freshman. His progression, though, of course, it's Missouri State, we're overreacting, was already incredibly clear. We could already see what he's been working on with Eric Henderson, Danton Lynn, and how he's gotten better.
Yeah, what about, I know it was sort of garbage time, but Braylon Shelby as well had 2 sacks. Mm-hmm. He had 3 total tackles, 1 assisted tackle. I mean, the defensive line, we talk about depth, and what does depth actually mean? It's when you have guys that can slot in at any moment and perform. I don't care who the opponent is. Bringing in a guy like Braylon Shelby, who, if we're being honest, is kind of like the he's like the 6th man of the defensive line, I feel like. He's just barely missing being a starter, and I think he probably will be a starter at some point if a guy goes down. But, you look at him, that USC had 5 total sacks in this game. Kennedy Urlacher also had a sack. I know he's not a defensive lineman, but still, you have just, Jade Abasiri. He was in the backfield a lot.
He was great, yeah.
Sack. I loved the defensive line in this game. They were getting to the quarterback. They had no time. Except for that, even that play where there's blown coverage. The
they got to him. He was so open. It was 3 seconds. It was 2.5 seconds. So of course they're not going to get to the quarterback that quickly.
Yeah. Jacob Clark didn't have much time. USC easily could have gotten a sack on that play if he doesn't get that ball out in time, and he did, luckily. But I think it was kind of a lucky touchdown, honestly. They took advantage of those.
Yeah, it's a blown coverage. Of course, it's kind of a lucky touchdown. But Braylon Shelby, you mentioned, even says 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. He was fantastic. I did love seeing a lot of the younger guys get in. And, of course, they were up by 60 in the fourth quarter. But seeing guys like Matai Taigoa was so great. I want to say he got one of the game balls from USC after the game. I think I saw that on social media. Yeah. But it's great seeing a lot of those guys get in and get snaps early, because those are the future. That's what you want to see. You want to see that development early from those guys.
Yeah, let's talk about Hassan Longstreet. Kind of have to. This is the first time we're seeing, one of the top QBs in the 2025 class. He didn't throw the ball all that much, but he was 9 for 9, not a single incompletion. He was stripped of the ball. It wasn't really his fault. Had a touchdown on the ground, 69 total yards. Played pretty much a whole half outside of the final kneel by Sam Heward. But outside of that, I really love the physical tools of Hassan Longstreet. It's different. It's a lot different than Jayden Maiava. Jayden Maiava is a bigger guy. He moves a little slower, but he navigates well. I really loved seeing Hassan Longstreet run like a running back. It really reminded me of like a Jalen Hurts type of player. He was able to evade pressure and move around, and I want to see him maybe throw the ball maybe this week a bit more. Just to give him that test. Georgia Southern is known to be a pretty physical team. I know they're not a great team, but they're pretty physical defensively. Not to say that they're good or have a chance of winning, but I would like to see, and even against Purdue, because Purdue's a team that's probably not going to win a lot of football games this year. Yeah. How Hassan Longstreet plays on the road, if he can get a quarter at least there and be have to adapt to that sort of, environment. It's not an easy environment necessarily. It's not the hardest either, but it is Big Ten football on the road. I would love to see that happen. And I really appreciated his game and his ability to evade pressure. He was creating something out of nothing every play.
Yeah. So he played fantastic. Before I say this, I'm going to say one bad thing about him, but he played fantastic. Let me say that really quickly. You could see how immature he was, how young he was. It was his freshman start. It was his first start. Of course, he's going to be young. He's 18, I assume, maybe 19. Of course, he's going to do this. He did hold on to the ball a little too long, but that's something you coach out of him. That's not a bad thing for your first start. He was 9 for 9. He ran for 54 yards, 2 touchdowns. The time, Casey, this is, once again, we're overreacting. The way I know that we got an absolute dog behind Jayden Maiava His first run for that first down where he evades pressure on one side, evades pressure on the right, ducks a sack, scrambles around, puts his shoulder down, two guys, leans in 10 yards, gets the first down. And that was his first drive. I think that was his first drive as with the ball. It was incredibly impressive to me, and it just showed, okay, yeah, this guy, we got something in this guy. Once again, overreacting. Kyler Murray-esque play. Does Lincoln Riley have his next Kyler Murray?
I mean, maybe.
I will say the speed impressed me. I knew, obviously, dual threat coming out of high school. I didn't know he was that fast. They did a lot of quarterback draws and stuff like that with him. It was very impressive to me how quickly he was able to get downfield.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing, too, is, like, he's not even that undersized. Like, I know he looks smaller compared to Maiava, but he's still 6 feet, 200 pounds, and he's still growing. He's a freshman, so – and he reclassed, right? So he's technically a lot – he's a young guy. So, yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about his rushing stats, but he had 54 yards on 8 rushing attempts, 2 touchdowns, a long run of 17, and then 69 yards in the air, 1 touchdown throw. I believe that was to Carson Tabarachi over the middle, wide open. But, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the receivers because USC didn't have a single touchdown from a wide receiver, I believe, which was very weird dichotomy. Last year, they didn't have any touchdowns from tight ends. They had 2 days ago, Tabarachi and McCree, and then a bunch from the running backs. Jacoby Lane wasn't all that impressed with him, but I'm not worried. I'm gonna say that. I'm not worried. Mekhi Lemon did great though. I loved Mekhi Lemon's game. What did you see out of the receiving room? We got to see Tanuk Hines also get in there and some of the new guys.
Yeah, great take from Jeff here. I love seeing Tanuk Hines. I will be honest, it was a little surprising seeing him listed over a bunch of those guys on the depth chart. I thought he was great though. He was a great blocker. Overall played very well, especially, we talked about first start for a lot of these guys. Jacoby, I'm not worried about him. Yeah, he had some drops. He still, once he got the ball in his hand, moved pretty well with it. There was one, I believe it was either a wide receiver screen or jailbreak screen, something like that got him the ball in space. He was able to maneuver for 10 or so yards. Not sure exactly how many. The depth perception is a little off when you're in the student section. Mekhi looked fantastic. I just want to so simply put that. Should have had a touchdown if Jayden could have hit him. Should have had like 8 receptions for 120 some odd yards and a touchdown. Doesn't matter. I'm not that worried. He's getting open. He is easily making catches. He is creating space off the ball. Once he gets the ball, he's creating space. I thought he was fantastic. I'll stand on the take that he is the second best receiver in the Big Ten by far, easily top 5 in the country.
I want to overreact. I think Mekhi Lemon is a Biletnikoff finalist.
That's not crazy. That's not crazy to say that at all.
Yeah. I know he was like on the watch list, right? But I think he could genuinely win it. Jeremiah Smith didn't play all that good this week. Tyson didn't play for ASU, right?
He had 140 and 2 touchdowns and 13 receptions.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't know why I thought that. The ESPN Plus feed for the Arizona State game, I had to listen on the radio. I don't know, like everyone was experiencing this issue. No one could really watch the ASU game on ESPN Plus. No, you're right. I see that now. But I didn't think Smith played that good. Ryan Williams had a few drops.
Great shout, Jeff. Yeah,
he had a few drops in that game. But I think this could be a 2-legged race between Mekhi Lemon and Jordan Tyson. I don't think that's that crazy.
So it's not crazy to say that. However, he's going to have to stat pad against Georgia Southern and Purdue if he wants to do that. Because obviously he didn't play in the second half, and I'm totally fine with that because save him for when they actually need him. Jordan Tyson, though, as I just mentioned, 14 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 140 against NAU. And, of course, Arizona State was in kind of a dogfight against Northern Arizona, which does not look good for them. But Lemon would need to play more, I think, if he wants to actually earn the award and get the stats that would show this is the best receiver in college football, because it is always going to be a question of right now it's always going to be, I'll throw Jordan Tyson in there, but Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams. That's who the national media is looking at. It's these 2 phenom sophomores. They didn't play that good against Florida State and Texas. It is, of course, Florida State and Texas, though, compared to a Missouri State. Mekhi, he had 7 receptions, 90 yards. He's going to need more if he wants to be up there with them, though.
Yeah, but he had that also in like 1 quarter.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But if you look, I think college football voters for everything are stupid. and they box score watch a lot. And, when USC isn't playing, and that can be a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, you look at it, you see USC 173-13. At the same time, you look at it, Mekhi Lemon, only 7 receptions and 90 yards.
You also have to think Mekhi Lemon has to share a receiving room with, a really solid group across the board, even the depth players. I mean, sharing with Jacoby Lane, he's going to lose out on touchdown opportunities. It's just how it's going to work, especially with USC's run game, how good it is. I also think, at the end of the day, I believe USC only has one Biletnikoff winner ever, Marquise Lee, if I'm remembering correctly. I know Jordan Addison was before he came to USC, but I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but that's off the top of my head.
Keyshawn Johnson must have won it.
I don't know about that.
Crazy?
I think
you might be right.
Was the first ever USC Biletnikoff winner in 2012, 13?
Yeah, 2012.
Okay. But there's a reason for that because USC has depth. USC always has depth receiving wise. There was a big reason why they didn't really get a lot of love last year receiving wise because they had Kyron Hudson, they had Kyle Ford. They had a lot of different receivers that were very well versed in college football. They were older guys. Now it's the younger guys stepping up, like Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, who aren't young anymore necessarily, but they haven't played a whole lot their careers. They both really didn't play their freshman years. So I think it could be one of those things to look at. I think it's a really big test though for Jordan Tyson. Week 2, we were talking a little bit before the show started. I know this isn't an ASU podcast, but ASU is playing Mississippi State, at Mississippi State. I know they're not a good team, but, it could be a tough place to play. I think we'll definitely be watching to see how Jordan Tyson plays. Whereas Mekhi Lemon, who surely will get a lot of touches this week against Georgia Southern.
Yeah. And we'll get to Georgia Southern in 1 second. I did like what I see. I liked seeing a lot of just Jacoby and Mekhi. Because, we talked a lot about how USC's last couple of years, especially since we've been here, it's been just a lot of 5-6 receivers that they switch in and out. And that way, a lot of these guys, they can't really rack up lots of stats. But we saw a lot more when USC at the start is just trying to get things established, get things going. We're seeing a lot of Mekhi, Jacoby, and then, 2 tight end sets. I love seeing that. I really like seeing that because I think that is where you're getting the most talent is when you have Lake McCree, Wayman Jordan, not necessarily Walker Lyons, but throw him in there, and then Jacoby and Mekhi. I like seeing that a lot. And that's, of course, no disrespect to the other receivers. I just think that those 2 are the alphas. That's who you need to lean on.
Let's talk about Lake McCree. This was a big game for him. 2 receptions, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. I have a pretty crazy stat for you. This is the first time Lake McCree has had a touchdown against a team not called Stanford. That is a real stat for you.
Lake McCree has never had a touchdown against it. What?
Yeah, Lake McCree has never had a touchdown.
He never had touchdowns against Stanford?
Yeah. It's like
that sounds like a made-up stat. That's so ridiculous.
Oh, it's true. Because he
didn't put you on blast for a second because you said Lake McCree was headed for All-American status before he was injured last year.
We're looking for hot takes, man. That was my hot take. The tight end room did not have a single touchdown last year across the board. He had his most recent touchdown before the one on Saturday was against Stanford in I think it was week 2 because USC had a week 0 game back in 2023. In 2022, he had a touchdown in week 2 against Stanford at the Farm. And then in 2021, I believe he only played in 3 games. Yeah, Bleacher stat is correct. So he's only had 3 touchdowns ever, and 2 of them have been against, 2 of them now have been against Stanford and 1 against Missouri State.
Okay, no more Lake McCree talk. No disrespect, but no more Lake McCree talk. Let's talk about Casey. I told you I had some ideas of superlatives of who did the best what, who did this. You are unprepared for this. I'm just going to throw these at you. You're going to answer these questions. So, Casey, I want to ask you, and there's probably one obvious answer that you'll go with. Who was the best player for USC?
It's a really good question. It's hard to answer. It's a good question because we only saw the starters for about a half of the game.
Yeah.
I want to go. I want to say my honorable mentions Alani Noah because he blocked very well on the right side. I'm going to go Jayden Maiava, though. I know it's sort of like a lazy answer, but this is his first time starting for USC in week 1. I know it's a weaker opponent, but it's a lot to ask out of him. And he really looked good. Like, he was not making dumb reads. He had that one bad throw where he should have had a touchdown to Mekhi Lemon. And then we really would have been talking Biletnikoff, probably even more seriously, because that's 30 yards to Makai.
Yeah.
But I really did think that, Jayden Maiava played well, and his expectations were high, but he doesn't have to play like Caleb Williams if USC wants to win this year. How about you, though?
I'll go with someone else because Jayden Maiava, obviously fantastic. I mentioned him before, but Cameron Fountain. I think you can throw any of those D-line guys in just because, and they're talking about it in the chat, but they rotate so many of them in and out, and that speaks to the depth. There's a lot of talent on that defensive line. We've been saying for weeks, months now, that it is the most talented group, at least I think. I don't know about you. I think it's the most talented group USC has position group-wise. So I thought it was Cameron Fountain, though. He really just impressed me about his ability to get into the backfield, quarterback, running back, whoever it was. He was always there. I love seeing him, and I think he's going to take a leap once we play real teams. Let's talk, though, Casey. Who do you think had an under-the-radar great game? Because obviously Maiava was the Big Ten Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week. Who do you think played well who isn't getting enough attention?
Yeah, I mean, man, just looking at my notes here, I honestly – I think the running back room as a whole, like King Miller, I know he had the flashy touchdown, but King Miller was a guy that most USC fans probably didn't know who he was before this week because he is the fourth running back on the depth chart. And no disrespect to Brian Jackson, but I think it's very clear that Brian Jackson's role is very carved out. He's going to get touches when USC is inside the 20, inside the 10, counting in. Yeah. Or, he's basically a fullback on like a 4th and 2. I think I want to say King Miller. I also brought up earlier Alani Noah, starting right guard for USC. He was the highest rated PFF offensive lineman for USC this week. I also want to go with Jaw Jarrett as well, though. I feel like his size, his pressure he brings, his USC debut. I mean, the dude's 6'5", 360 pounds. He is huge. And it's one of those things where he's not poorly conditioned either. And it really showed in this game. He has pretty good, agility and movement for a guy that big. How about you, though?
I think Jaw was a great. That was going to be my pick. I thought he was great. I'm going Jayden Maiava. I think that I'm staying with the D line just because I think the guys like the Braylon Shelbys we mentioned had 2 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss. Jayden Maiava was fantastic. He was really great getting into the backfield, getting pressure on the quarterback. I overall was just incredibly impressed of what he was able to do. And of course, all of them on that defensive line. 1 sack. Was that his first career sack, if I'm not mistaken?
I don't know. Probably because he was at Georgia last year. Only 3 tackles last year at Georgia. That was his first year playing because he redshirted his first year. So, he only had 3 tackles in 11 games last year, which just kind of shows he didn't play all that much. Yeah. So, making a bigger role for himself.
Yeah, 100%. All right, before I go to the next one, David, know it's early, but do we think we can make the playoff?
Ooh, talk about overreacting.
I'm going to let you answer this one first. I just want
to, get level-headed for a moment here because about a year ago today, we didn't have this show yet. Pretty much a year ago today, USC beat LSU in what looked like a marquee win. It was a marquee win.
It was a great win, yeah.
It was, but it looked like they were going to potentially make the CFP. They beat Garrett Nussmeier, who had a myriad of options, one of the best offensive linemen in college football, and a defense that wasn't great, but still decent. The point is, LSU was a great win, and people were saying the same thing. USC had a great win this week. They put up the most points in 95 years in a game.
Pretty sure it's the most points in FBS this week in college football.
It was also. They lead the nation in scoring. But let's remember that it all fell off last year after the Michigan game. And so, I'm excited. We're all excited. But we can't get ahead of ourselves just because we saw last year what happened on defense when all these guys got injured. And even on offense with Lake McCree getting hurt. I know I brought him up again. Sorry, Terrence. The offensive line not being able to adjust to harder environments. Stuff's going to happen in between now and then. Can they make the playoff? Absolutely. If Jayden Maiava can play like a top 3 QB in the Big Ten and a top, say, 7 QB in the country, sure as hell, they absolutely could. Is that all going to happen? We don't know. We need guys to stay healthy, though. That's the biggest thing.
Yes. I'm going to say something similar. Can they make the playoff? 100%. Should we overreact and say they are going to make the playoff? No, because look, at the end of the day, it's Missouri State. The only thing you really get from these games, you're not going to get that much because they're not a good opponent. Let's just be real. This is a team that'll probably win 3 games. I don't know their schedule off the top of my head, but 3 games. They're not in a great conference. Offensive line is going to be a huge question mark. And Jeff, literally, as I say it, that is kind of one of the problems. And it is always something that concerns me. It's something that concerned me these past couple months is, are they going to get a good offensive line? I think the defense is going to be really good. I think the defensive line is actually going to be able to compete with these top tier offensive lines in the Big Ten, with your Michigans, your Illinois, your Oregons, even your Notre Dames, who they were not actually. Notre Dame was not good. That offensive line was not good yesterday. So that makes me feel good.
Their defense wasn't all that good either. I mean,
it was not fantastic.
Yeah.
But should we say they're going to make the playoff? I can't confidently say that. Last time they scored 60 plus in a home opener, though, they did go 11-1 in the regular season.
Hey, I mean, I'm not going to put on my tinfoil cap, but I was very curious. I Googled Missouri State's schedule while you were saying that. I think they could win like 2 games this year. They're playing UT Martin and Kennesaw State as lighter matchups, but yeah, I digress. Can we also point out the fact that Notre Dame and UCLA both lost?
Yeah, we should do that. We were going to talk about that. We should. Great weekend to be a USC fan.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame was pretty much like given the game back late in the game after playing horribly in the first half, and Miami kind of sagged off a bit, and they still lost. And then UCLA in Nico's debut, just 43-10. Devon Dampier just absolutely cruising over them. I mean, Nico didn't play all that bad, but he didn't play all that good either.
He did not play good. I mean, it's also, we're not going to talk UCLA. We're not going to talk Tennessee, anything like that. He left such a good situation. He left a quarterback whisperer in Josh Heupel for Deshaun Foster and no one. And I think you look at it, shout out Joey Aguilar. I think I can say that now. He's at Tennessee now. I can say that. Yeah. He lucked into such a great situation for him. It's a guy who wants it versus a guy who thinks he deserves it in Joey versus Nico. And I do, of course, kind of blame Nico's dad. I don't fully blame him. He's, 2021. So I don't fully blame him. He was not good yesterday. And it makes me – I never thought that USC was going to lose to UCLA. I am now even so much more confident that they are going to beat UCLA. And
they should beat them by a lot. I mean, UCLA's defense, which has been their strong suit these past few years, even under Chip Kelly, who's more of an offensive mastermind. And, UCLA held USC to 1 touchdown last year. They gave up 43 points, including 13 points in the fourth quarter against Utah. And for the record, when I say Nico didn't play all that bad, I meant, he only threw like 1 pick, but his completion percentage, only 50%. He only threw for 136 yards. And the run game for UCLA wasn't all that great either.
Distant. I mean, sure, part of it is Utah, Utah's a good team, and I think they could make the CFP easily.
Yeah,
wide open Big 12. But UCLA is not good, dude, at all.
Can we talk about Notre Dame in the same
really quickly? We should, because then let's get back to USC stuff.
Yeah.
That made me feel good. That made me feel better because I did. CJ Carr looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think their receivers are good. They did not give the ball to Jeremiah Love, which I thought was shocking.
Yeah, he only had 33 yards.
He had 10 carries. That was weird to me, especially because him and Price, thank you,
Price
killed USC last year. Of course, I think Love left at halftime, but they were killing USC. So sure, if Mike Denbrock, if you don't want to hand the ball off against USC to Jeremiah Love, I'm okay with that. That's fine. You don't have to do that. The Notre Dame offensive line, unlike past years where they have really always been good, they did not look good. And Miami has a pretty solid defensive line. You look at Ruben, what's his name? Whatever it is. He did not look that good. And I think the USC D-line is comparable to that Miami defensive line.
Ruben Bain Jr. He had half a sack. He had,
he had that crazy pick. Yeah.
Yeah. He had, he had a great game. I mean,
he was getting after that right tackle.
Yeah. I mean, only 93 yards on the ground for Notre Dame, only 5.4 yards per play. I mean, technically that's more than Miami, but also not a very well-disciplined game for either team. A lot of penalty yards. Like it was a messy game, and Miami was trying to lose. They had the lead. They gave up 17 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But thank God they won that game. I mean, we want Notre Dame to be ranked when we.
I was going to say, I like when Notre Dame loses. We want them to keep winning, though. We want Notre Dame to win so that no matter the result against them in October, they were a pretty good team going in.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the easiest schedule. It's not a hard. I wouldn't say a hard.
Definitely harder than last year, though.
Yeah, I mean, they have A&M next week. They'll beat Purdue. They have Arkansas. Boise State should be unranked at that point, I think.
They're unranked right now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I just great week for USC. Honestly, great week of college football. Like
awesome week of college football.
I mean, a defensive showdown to open things up. Texas, Ohio State. Florida State just kicking the can against Alabama. And, man, that was just a great week overall for USC. But should we move along now back to USC talk?
Let's talk back to USC because it is always – I love a good hate watch, but we should talk about USC. Let's talk about Georgia Southern coming to town. Clay Helton's return. I'm not going to say triumphant return because he left in a ball of flames. A stinking ball of flames, I will say. Georgia Southern got the work put to them by, shout out Matt Entz, former linebackers coach, USC last year, the assistant, destroyed them 42-14. I want to say they had less than 200 total yards. Is that right? Maybe less than 250. How many was it?
So, yeah, well, no, they had 242. But here's the crazy thing. This was a game that Georgia Southern led at halftime. It was 14-13. They gave up 29 unanswered points in the final 2 quarters of play. So Fresno State, absolutely swung momentum. And I mean, JC French had a pretty mid game not horrible for Georgia Southern. Their defense didn't do anything in the second half to help them. The run game was not good. The run game for Fresno State, Bryson Donaldson had an incredible game. He was the best running back this week, honestly, in FBS. 167 yards on the ground. So, I mean, that just shows us that Georgia Southern's run defense could be in for a doozy against Wayman Jordan, Eli Sanders, Brian Jackson. I mean, they gave up 167 yards on the ground to one guy and total 351 total rushing yards for Fresno State. So that's all you need to know.
They got to just run the ball over them. And I know Lincoln Riley is like always afraid to run the ball, but I would love to see a couple more touches for Sanders and Jordan because we got a taste of them and they look fantastic. I would love to see that against more. Let's say overreact time. What about 100 yards for both of them?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I am with you. I am with you. Also, I was gonna say Corey Foreman also played in that Fresno State game. And he had a tackle as well. But I'm just trying to make all the connections. I will say though, the one thing for Georgia Southern that they can sort of hang their hat on is they didn't allow a sack in this game. Granted, that doesn't mean a whole lot because we know that USC's defensive line is a lot better than Fresno State's defensive line. But also, I think it's a big test for him. I mean, Lincoln Riley has talked a little bit about Georgia Southern and them just being a physical team. I don't know what that actually means, but we know also that Clay Helton is keeping his team for 9 days in Southern California because they're playing Fresno State. He's keeping them. He's saying, let's not go back to Georgia. We'll stay here. And I believe they're doing a walkthrough at the Coliseum this week. So Clay Helton's really trying to get his guys acquainted to LA and the Coliseum.
Yeah, I'm not overly worried about Georgia Southern. I'm just going to say that right now. Look, we've talked about it all the time.
I'm with you, man.
Walk anywhere, but this is not a game I'm worried about. You mentioned the sacks. Sure, it is. It's a slowly, we've talked about all offseason, slowly ramping up in competition. This is that Missouri State, bad team. Here we go, Georgia Southern, then Purdue, Michigan State. That's how you get to. I want to talk about some of the things that have been going on in the chat while you were talking, because I do like the idea of getting Longstreet in. However, I also want to conserve his red shirt. So I think he can play the next 2 games, and then I kind of want him out of there because it's 3 games, right? And then for a red shirt, I'd like to see him throw the ball more, less running. I'd like to see him get the ball out quicker, all sorts of that stuff. I still think that USC is going to kill Georgia Southern, getting back to that. And we are going to see Longstreet hopefully be able to see a lot more of maybe Longstreet's progression in the passing game. Casey, do you know the line of this game?
I don't know. Do you have it up?
Do you want to guess it? I'm looking at it. Do you want to guess it?
The line, like the spread?
You guess the spread and then guess the over-under.
I'm going to say, just based on what happened this past week, USC by 27.5.
Great shout. 27.5. On the dot.
I didn't know. Oh,
Good
my God.
Shout. Wow.
Okay. The over-under
at 62. Sorry.
Okay, well,
2.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I think USC is going to overall destroy this game. 11 points lower than the open versus Missouri State. I don't think that matters that much. I think USC wins this one handily.
Yeah, I mean, they covered immensely against Missouri State. I saw someone, I think it was Real Talk College Football, put something in the chat about, let's talk about Longstreet's lack of pocket confidence, which we sort of talked about a little earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly, like you said it, Terrence, you can coach that. I sort of agree, though. I want to see him step up in the pocket. I want to see him take a drop back and not just scramble right away, step up and use his vision. He's been touted for his vision. I want to see him do that. And I think you could really get a better idea of the type of quarterback he is if he does that.
Yeah. And just kind of speaking on that. So that fumble that was called back that he had, the reason he fumbled, the reason he went back, he went so far back in the pocket. He kept kind of drifting back into the pocket, kind of right into where the offensive line was pushing the D-line back. So that's kind of why that happened. I want to see him step up more, as you mentioned, throw the ball downfield. I'm not saying take a deep shot, but I'm saying get the ball out, inspire confidence in your young quarterback. That's what I want to see in these early games. Show him that he can throw the ball at the college level, not just that he's a scrambler.
Yeah, and like get him adjusted to this offensive line, because we know that Lincoln Riley kind of scrambled the offensive line around the week of the game. We don't really know like how much insight the quarterbacks had into what was going to change, but it's going to be a learning curve for sure,
Yeah,
especially when Big Ten play comes. So I agree.
Yeah.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
All right, well, we're winding things down here, Casey, and we've talked a lot about last game, this game. Of course, USC is going to likely, I'm going to say, fingers crossed, likely destroy Georgia Southern. What we're going to see, what we saw on Saturday, I think we're going to see that again. Let's talk a little bit more with the comments of what we think is going to happen season outlook wise, because we've talked about this a lot. Our season predictions, I'm going to ask you, and we can talk the comments about this too. Has your season outlook changed after this game? We're overreacting, as we keep talking about. Has your season outlook changed?
So, sorry, my memory is sort of bad. Did I have them going 8-4 or 9-3? Because one of us had.
You had 9-3. I had 8-4. Okay,
we're overreacting on this show. With how Notre Dame played, I know it's in South Bend. Is it crazy to say that USC beats Notre Dame and Illinois? Lone loss is Oregon, and they go 11-1. Is that crazy? After this, I know it's an overreaction.
I think that's crazy. Even with the overreaction, I kind of think that's crazy. I'm not going to lie. I think that both those teams are great. Okay, wait. Sorry. I was pulling up Notre Dame's schedule when the last time they won in South Bend was, because I want to say 2015, but I don't fully remember. I do think that they can go and have a better record than what I thought. 11-1 is a lot. It is, and I know a lot of the guys, Real Talk College Football, Jeff, you guys are talking about this. 11-1 is a lot. It's a lot of wins, especially when you have to go to places such as Champaign, which is not the hardest, but Illinois is a good team, South Bend and Eugene. So do you have them losing? You have them just losing to Oregon then?
I mean, yeah, Oregon, they played an FCS team. So again, it's really hard to like evaluate them, but they look good. I mean, obviously they look good. There's nothing I can really say about Oregon other than they're a very deep team and they're good at every position pretty much, except for maybe wide receiver a little bit, but they still had some pretty good depth there this week. I think the lone loss is Oregon. Honestly, I'm just gonna go out and say it.
I'll stay, and I hope I am wrong in this. I will stay the bad guy because I'm just not optimistic as a fan. That's just how my teams have gone in my entire life. It never seems to work out. I would see Notre Dame. It did inspire a little confidence in me, but more or less that it'll be like some heartbreaking loss for USC and not one where they lose by 2 touchdowns or something like that. I will change. No, my season prediction was 8-4, and I had them losing to Illinois, Notre Dame, Nebraska, and Oregon. Nebraska they did not look fantastic, and it was a harder game against a decent Cincinnati team. It's still a hard place to play, and I still think they only have 1 or 0 losses going into that USC game.
Real Talk College Football saying Illinois couldn't run the ball. I mean, Aiden Lafferty had 101 yards on 9 carries and 2 touchdowns. So I think they can run the ball. But again, they're playing Duke this week. That could be a trap.
That'll be a good test game. That'll be a good warm up because Duke, I would say, is on a similar level to USC as far as expectations of wins, and I think they're a worse team, but ACC. I'm gonna go 9-3.
Okay,
and this will change week by week, obviously.
Yeah,
and I'll change the Nebraska win to Nebraska to win.
Okay.
But that's still a 50-50 game to me. I want to make that very clear that I still believe that's 50-50. And I hope I am wrong on a lot of this stuff. I just don't trust Lincoln Riley. It's not that I don't think the team is talented and that necessarily where they're going and the teams they're playing are better than them. I don't trust Lincoln Riley's play calling, and especially on the road. It's these games, you don't get a lot from them offensively. What you do well, it's not a great tell of what you'll be able to do against decent teams. And Nebraska will be, as I've said, an amped up team going into that. It's one of those very dark horse to make the playoff teams because they play such an easy schedule, like Indiana syndrome from last year, where they play nobody, but will come into the playoffs because they go 11-1.
The thing with Nebraska this week, I think Raiola did a pretty good job. Some of his throws were a little underthrown.
Yeah.
But their run defense was not good. They gave up 202 rushing yards to Cincinnati. Only won by 3. I mean, so
that is very true because Brendan Sorsby was running all over them. That was really the only thing that kept Cincinnati in the game. I want to say he had 80 or 90 some odd rushing yards. Their pass 96.
Yeah.
Their pass game was pretty decent. They did have a pretty decent pass defense. Shout out Sear, right? Former Trojan. But I do think that USC, I saw more than I was hoping for this game. I predicted the score. I was telling my friends 44-3. And maybe that was an understatement of what the offense could do. But that, of course, was the spread. That was hitting 38.5. So I don't know. I know we're overreacting. I just can't get that hyped until I see them go on the road and win. Okay, one thing. Let me say, I know I've been talking a lot.
You're good.
Illinois, I'm fully buying in. I'm fully playoff or nothing. If they win in Illinois, playoff or nothing. That's
okay.
a hard.
We'll know in a few weeks. But I want you to bring up one of Jeff's comments here about the running back room having gold in it, because it's a good point, right?
Yeah.
The issue was they weren't utilizing the run game enough. Last year, there were games where Woody Marks would only have 8 to 10 carries.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, especially because I think back to the Washington game, the game where Miller Moss was eventually benched. He threw 50 times in the rain. That was never going to work. It was just never going to work. And he didn't play great. They lost that game because Mason Murphy let the defensive end run right. He just opened the door for him, let him run straight to Miller. So I don't blame him for that. Especially, you're making your guy throw 50 times. He hasn't been fantastic. I want to see the running backs. There's so many talented running backs. I want to see them run the ball. I sound like I'm shouting like a mirror. I sound crazy right now.
It's valid. I think this team has put a lot of.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. And I think too, Lincoln Riley has been known as the quarterback whisperer for a reason, but I think he needs to swallow his pride a little bit.
Yes.
I think, this team, even the running back coaching room with Anthony Jones Jr., like they have a very close bond. It feels like they're building something special. They need to utilize it.
Yes, dude. It's just, look, you don't have Kyler Murray. You don't have Baker Mayfield. You don't have Caleb Williams. Jayden Maiava's good. He's not a number 1 overall pick. Can I just be real about that? I know we're overreacting, but he's not the number 1 overall pick. He's not this incredible talent who's going to play multiple years in the NFL. That's just what it was. So I want to see them run the ball more. Jayden threw, was he 17 or 19 times this game? When I went off to the screen at Georgia Southern. I think he threw 19 because I think he was 15 for 19. I want to see them run the ball still even more. Even when they're killing time, I want them to run the ball.
18 times. 18 times. And USC threw the ball 27 total, which, isn't that much, I guess, all things considered. But yeah, should we open it up for questions and takes in the comments?
Let's do it. Give us some more bold takes about the season, some overreactions to 73-13. Because, there's so much that you can talk about, but it's always going to be an overreaction because they just barely skate along the line of a FCS team.
Yeah, and I don't. One thing you said that I didn't necessarily agree with is like Jayden Maiava won't be playing, significant years in the NFL. I think he could. Like, I don't think it's that crazy to say. He broke out when he came out of the scene at UNLV. He's still a pretty raw prospect. And I think it's very telling what we'll see in the next few weeks. But I think he could be, I don't know if I'm going to say a first-round pick, but I think he could be.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that we haven't seen enough to say that he is a Caleb Williams, a Kyler Murray, a Baker Mayfield type player, because those are the guys who have taken Lincoln Riley to these New Year's Six bowls. Those are the guys who have taken him to that upper echelon of college football. And I don't know if we have enough from Maiava about that.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think
this is probably true. This is probably true that if we're going to the playoffs, he is probably an NFL quarterback, but that's a lot to ask for.
Yeah. I think he probably enters the draft no matter what after this year. I think he transfers though, no matter if he doesn't get, I think if he doesn't have any looks, I think he's gone after this year.
You think he 100% gets pushed out?
I just think the vision for Longstreet's there. I think it would be too detrimental to the pipeline because you have such a perfect setup with Maiava this year, Longstreet, for 2, and then Jonas Williams. Like, I just think it makes too much sense. I don't know. That can get jumbled. I know it's been jumbled before, but I don't know.
I could see him 100% going to the draft and being like a day 1 or 2 pick. That is 100%. If they make the playoffs, as you guys keep saying, then he's an NFL quarterback because that means that he pretty much came out of nowhere. We talked about, not nowhere for USC fans, but in, the national media, no one thought he'd be that good.
Okay. So I got a question for you and the people in the chat. Sorry to cut you off.
No, all good.
Is Maiava the most underrated quarterback in the country?
I think,
and
probably, I think people are going to learn Devon Dampier a lot more.
Yeah.
Utah quarterback. I think he's really good and he's in a great situation. Plus, Utah has an easy schedule where I bet they'll go 11-1, 10-2, and probably win the Big 12. So I think people are going to start learning him. Maiava, I'm just trying to think of other. Do you think he is? How about you? How about that? Do you think he is?
I was going to say a little disclaimer is it's a paradox by saying someone's the most underrated. Are they really underrated at that point?
Yeah, of course.
I think, okay, I like the Dampier shout out. I think JKS at Cal. I know he's a freshman, so I don't know.
I don't think so anymore, though. I think guys we knew he was going to be good there. I don't think so anymore, though, because he was really good against Oregon State.
Damon Williams, I think, is pretty underrated, but he's more rated than Maiava. People have been saying all along that Maiava is worse than Damon Williams at Washington. I think Maiava. It's hard. I think Maiava is in the top 3 most underrated QBs in the entire country. The other 2,
That's a funny way to state that. It's just like a funny way of phrasing that.
But it's hard to know who the other two are because, by paradox, it's like if I know the other two, then it's like, are they really underrated? Because we know Maiava because we're here. But if someone's in the woods, we don't know. You know what I mean? So it's a tough thing to talk. But I think
to be underrated, you have to be not talked about. The freshman at Maryland, Malik. Oh, what's his name? Not Malik Washington. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was great though. I think he wasn't getting enough. Malik Washington, yes. Because JKS was getting all the freshman hype. I think he could definitely slide in there as one of the most underrated. Yeah, Jeff, 100%. It's his turnovers. As soon as Maiava controls his urge to just throw it wherever the hell, no matter who is covering them, then I think he's a great quarterback. It's 65% of the time it's Caleb Williams. The other 35%, it's not. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, the one thing I will say, first of all, I do agree that out of the underrated QBs we talked about, I think Maiava has the best arm. The one thing, you brought up Malik Washington. He had a great game, 250 plus yards, 3 touchdowns. He threw the ball 43 times. He's not going to be able to do that every week. And that was against FAU.
Yeah, that's fair.
The run game for Maryland is not very good. They do not have a good run game. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be sustainable, but that
is fair. Yeah. PSU Jim, thanks for the shout. We love our Penn State fans, except for last year when Lincoln Riley lost us that game. But I do think it's so tough because I'm curious to see if USC gets ranked in this poll. I don't think they will. No. I think because most people just box score watching to see, Missouri State. And of course, that's what it is. Maybe after next week, if they destroy Georgia Southern again.
If they cover, yeah. I mean, who do you think will drop out? Obviously Boise State, Kansas State will drop out, right?
They should.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
USC was 4th in receiving votes already. 1, 2, 3.
BYU was up there in terms of missed teams.
Yeah, so USC was 5th in receiving votes. I bet BYU gets in there. I could see USF being in there.
Georgia Tech? Is that crazy? Georgia Tech?
Yes, that is crazy. That is not that good a Colorado team.
I know, but still, Haynes King's
Alabama will drop a little. I mean, because Florida State will be in the top. Florida State will go in. I bet Alabama will move up a bit or move down. Excuse me.
Iowa State will move up a little bit.
Do we think Tennessee moves up or stays the same? I think A&M moving down. They didn't play all that well against.
Yeah, I don't know.
UTSA.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to be ranked in this one. I'm just looking at it. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think 2 teams will get unranked, and I bet Auburn. I bet Utah, Florida State, and maybe Auburn will be ranked.
Yeah, Auburn did play a good game. Yeah. I don't know. I just say Baylor will be not ranked either. We didn't talk about them because I know you and we made AP polls. I know, but you and I made
AP polls. We did have Baylor. I did it. I really like Baylor. I like Sawyer Robertson a lot.
I like him too. We should have shown ours. We totally forgot. Maybe for next week or something. Well, I guess it'll be after the game, but we could show what it was in retrospect. I agree, though. I think it's okay, though, that USC is not ranked. I think the media attention they got last year early on, I don't know. I don't have any evidence to back this up, but I think it maybe got to them a bit. After that first game, people were saying Miller Moss is a Heisman candidate. Kyron Hudson just made the best catch we've ever seen. Like, there was so much buzz, much buzz.
See, I think it's a lot better to be out of the buzz.
Yeah.
Out of the buzz? That sounds weird.
I get what you mean, though. Like, it's and then, we can pretty much say they're going to beat Purdue for sure. Like, I'm not, again, we can never be too sure about it, but it's Purdue.
Yeah. No, they're going to beat Purdue.
What do you, I know it's really hard to predict, what's going to happen with other teams in 2 weeks from now. Do you think USC could be inside the top 20 in 2 weeks? So 3-0?
2 weeks? No.
Okay.
4 to 5.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens around the country because a lot of upsets this week. I'm just like looking through the comments of other USC players. Did you see Miller Moss's stat line versus I think it was Eastern Kentucky? What was his final line? I didn't see
it. Not good at all. He was I want to say he had 180, a touchdown, one with his legs, and 2 interceptions.
Yikes. Yeah,
not good.
They won, but not because of him. I mean, Isaac Brown had an incredible game on the ground for Louisville. 126 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. And Louisville's defense is incredibly good. At least it looked very good in this game. Only giving up 76 passing yards. But yeah, Miller Moss did. But what about Kyron Hudson though for Penn State? He did
play well. And PSU Jim was just talking about that. He did play well. Yeah. Watched a little bit of that. I didn't watch much of that Nevada game. That Penn State game, just because I thought there was more going on.
Yeah. Should we check in on Bear Alexander as well? I know it's
he was. I have no idea. I don't think he was played much though. I know a couple of my friends
tackles
Oregon were talking about it.
Yeah, he had 2 assisted tackles. That's all.
Okay, yeah. So he's not one of their starting defensive linemen either. I know I saw that.
Yeah, I didn't make it in the depth chart. But I think Real Talk College Football is a good point. Miller doesn't have a deep ball, and you know who does? Jayden Maiava.
Except for against Missouri State when he missed that versus Mekhi Lennon.
But at least he overthrew him and didn't underthrow him.
That is true. I would rather you underthrow than overthrow in that circumstance.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of all the topics that I had. Do you have anything else, closing thoughts, or anyone else in the comments who wants to?
Don't think so. We're going to be back next Monday at our more normal time. We figured this would be better, partially because it is Labor Day. Happy Labor Day. And because we have homework and things we have to do after this. We are still students. So we're going to be back next week. USC is going to hopefully destroy Georgia Southern by this time, because the AP poll will drop on Sunday or Saturday. When does it drop?
I think. Well, there were still games this week on.
Yeah, let's see. North Carolina TCU is in about 2 hours. Monday? Yeah, I think so. Monday.
Yeah.
So we will have an AP poll to react to.
That is very clutch.
So potentially USC will be ranked. Hopefully so. Until then, however, thank you everybody for tuning in. We love talking with you guys in the comments. Awesome stream, and we'll see you guys next week.